Hello everyone, so this video playing now confirms that Ukraine has entered Korenovo. This shows a column of vehicles which look to be MRAPs moving through the eastern parts of the settlement. Now, unfortunately, the vehicles are destroyed. This looks to be LMUR missiles launched by Kar-52 helicopters, which are, to be fair to Russia, excellent weapons. We've seen them used in the past to great effect, and they're very accurate, with a range around 15 kilometers. So they can be launched outside of manpad range, keeping the Kar-52s safe. This is along the road here which coils around to northern parts of Korenovo. Other than a few vague photos claiming to be from Korenovo, this is the first clear evidence we have of Ukraine entering the town, in force, on its eastern side. It isn't known yet as to what extent Ukraine controls this part of Korenovo, whether this was a push to force through and consolidate positions, or if Ukraine actually controls this section already, and these MRAPs were heading through to positions further north. But certainly, clear proof here that Ukraine has entered the town. The Kar-52s though, clearly a big threat. Hopefully Ukraine can get some long-range SAM systems positioned that can potentially cover their forces here and protect them from the Kar-52s. Now let's check the bridges. So satellite imagery shared by Mark Krutov on Twitter detected that Russia constructed a second pontoon bridge over the Seym River in Kursk. This is shown here. This bridge lasted less than 48 hours before Ukraine destroyed it, shown here. Now, it's very hard to tell for certain, but there are two rectangular objects near where the smoke is. I can't tell for certain if this is just odd little outcrops, trees, or if it's vehicles which were waiting to cross when artillery destroyed them. I suppose we will have to wait and see if clearer satellite imagery gets released to tell for certain. But this crossing is certainly gone. So, let's see where exactly this pontoon was built. First, here is the initial satellite imagery that was shared, showing the crossing in more detail again. A truck either about to cross, or possibly one of the pontoon vehicles that constructed the pontoon crossing, is in the red box, and shown by the arrow, the trail leading to the pontoon. Zoomed out, this pontoon is highlighted in red, with the first pontoon crossing highlighted in black. We looked at that one in the video a couple of days ago. So each of them are on opposite sides of Glushkovo, near the bridge that was destroyed. Let's zoom in on today's one. So this is here. At first glance, this looks to be a very odd place for a crossing, and it gets even odder when we switch to the normal map view. So, this pontoon leads to a boggy area covered in waterways and channels and ponds and pools. An odd choice. After leaving the pontoon, any vehicles then have to manoeuvre their way over boggy ground and past ponds and channels and that sort of thing. Now, I suppose the channels here aren't very big, so vehicles could possibly just drive over the bog and ponds and that sort of thing. But we saw in the video the other day a T-80 tank which got stuck in a pool like this, so it is quite risky. There must be a reason that Russia selected this area for the pontoon. It could be that it's only one of the few places with the right combination of a narrow river width, the river being slow flowing, and low enough banks for the vehicles to leave the pontoon occurred. When the first pontoon was seen a few days ago, some Twitter users concluded there are actually very few viable crossing points for a pontoon on this river. So, as bad as this terrain is, it must be one of the few possible places that Russia could build it, and that's why it was here. Let's check in on the first pontoon bridge. So a clear image from the 17th was shared, showing it after construction. Now, I thought this was constructed after the Glushkovo bridge was destroyed, but it was apparently built before. The Glushkovo bridge was destroyed on the 17th. You can see on this image there are no signs of a pontoon being used. So, Russia seems to have built it in advance of the bridge eventually being destroyed by Ukraine. Here, an extremely blurry image from the 16th, showing it constructed, and the 18th. On the 18th one, you can see the pontoon has been used. Fresh brown markings on the ground. So Russia is using this bridge at the moment. Surprisingly so far, I haven't heard anything about Ukraine destroying it. This is here, remember, so it does allow us a resupply of Glushkovo still, but not to the same degree that the Glushkovo bridge would have. Now, Sentinel satellite imagery is free for I believe the first 10 images that you look at, but unfortunately on today's one, it cuts out before the Glushkovo bridge. I did plan to look around to see if there were any other pontoons visible, but I couldn't do that. But it did allow me to go around other areas to the east. and I found a few things worth a quick look at. First here, the imagery has detected a number of artillery craters in the fields. Firstly, these highlighted in red are not shell craters. I checked on Google Maps and these are where telephone poles or electric pylons are, but highlighted in blue are a number of craters around a tree line. No way to tell for certain from this image whether this is Ukraine targeting Russian defensive operations or Russia targeting Ukrainian positions. However, if we go back to the 6th, the day that Ukraine crossed the border, you can see the ones near the tree line are not there. However, unfortunately, I did reach the limit of 3 satellite imagery that I could access, so I can't go through the imagery and pinpoint the exact date the craters arrived. But given what we know and the fact that Ukraine reached the areas around Korenovo early, I would say the ones in the blue box are Ukrainian positions being targeted by Russia. They do look very dark and clear. It is possible vehicles were destroyed here. This is here, southeast, about 13 kilometers from Korenovo and near Novo-Ivanovka. Here, more craters or artillery impacts on the field east of the forest, plus a lot of signs of activity around here. Looks like traces of vehicle movement. Again, no way to tell for certain when this is because I've ran out of free imagery. This is here, again on the approach towards Korenovo. Now, the reason I wanted to look at these is because I'm surprised how few signs of battle there are. As we've seen in videos and photos from Ukraine, the fields are pockmarked with artillery craters. Here, very few, and I went through all of what was visible on Sentinel. Now, it could be that the imagery isn't good enough to pick them up, but some do show up, like here in the field near Sverdikovo. So given the lack of craters and signs of battle and that sort of thing, I wonder if Russia just doesn't have the artillery support available to support the defence of Kursk in large numbers, with it all being tied up supporting offensive operations in Ukraine, or destroyed. I definitely find it odd, and did expect to see more signs of battle, and many more craters targeting Ukrainian positions. But again, very few to see. Now let's move away from satellite imagery. I do have a tendency to get bogged down when looking at satellite photos and waffling on a bit. We don't have much in the way of combat footage to look at, but there are a few interesting videos and one which shows new Ukrainian advances. Here, a small video showing a very accurate JDAM strike by Ukraine. You can see 2 bombs hit 2 buildings within a split second of each other. Very, very accurate. The targets were these 2 buildings here. Zoomed out, you can see that this is in Tekkino. Ukraine has hit targets around Tekkino a lot lately, likely softening the place up for another border crossing here. This is the area where yesterday we saw Russia pull troops from some isolated land over the Seym River. Now, here, some photos shared by Ukraine. A screenshot from a news report showing a pair of Russian BTR-82s destroyed near Suja, likely destroyed on the first day of Ukraine's incursion. Not the most interesting, but worth a quick look, and 2 more additions to Oryx's collection of 822 Russian BTR-82 variants destroyed so far. Russia had 1,100 in service at the start of the war, so Ukraine getting closer to making it extinct. And that's all we have shared from the Ukrainian side. The Russian one, though, is very interesting. This here shows the aftermath of a Russian artillery strike on a building in Visnevka, which is said to be occupied by Ukraine. So, why is this important? Visnevka is here, a small settlement near the river Snagost, with the Ukrainian presence hit by Russia on the western part of town. Zoomed out, this is here, west of Snagost town, and not far from Apanasovka. Apanasovka, we had confirmation, was captured by Ukraine yesterday. Snagost has been in Ukrainian hands for a while. So, this confirms a Ukrainian push west towards the railway tracks and the town of Komarovka. A Russian source reported that Ukraine had reached the railway tracks a few days ago. So, this gives confirmation that that is accurate, and Visnevka is now under Ukrainian control, and Ukraine is advancing towards Komarovka. So, another village added to Ukraine's growing collection. This is here on Live UA's map, highlighted in red. So, a small advance, but an advance nonetheless. And more pressure put on Komarovka, which looks to be Ukraine's next target. Highlighted in blue, Apanasovka, which Ukraine captured the other day, not updated on Live UA yet. So, not too many updates today. The big one is the destruction of Russia's Pontoon bridge in less than 48 hours after it was constructed. I am surprised the other one near Glushkovo hasn't been hit by Ukraine yet. There has to be a reason that Ukraine hasn't targeted it. Maybe to give Russia a place to withdraw from so they can potentially capture Glushkovo without getting bogged down in fighting and that sort of thing. One to keep an eye on though. Maybe it'll get hit soon. Other than Ukraine capturing Visnevka, no updates on any of the other fronts. Korenovo still holds, despite numerous rumours of Ukraine entering the town. Same as on the eastern front here. No footage or anything to confirm advances in those areas. This isn't to say there hasn't been, we're only seeing a very small selection of released or leaked videos. For example, Russia reported Ukraine reaching the railroad tracks near Visnevka a few days ago. We're only getting confirmation of it today. So certainly, there could be, and likely are, Ukrainian pushes and advances that we don't know about yet. So that's it for this video. Hope you found it interesting. Now, before we finish, I'm going to play a video from Cars for Ukraine about the ongoing fundraiser. Big thanks to everybody who's helped out so far, and take care everybody.
Hi folks, I'm driving Nissan Patrol, amazing car, one owner for the last 12 years. That's one of the first vehicles we bought for medics of the 3rd Assault Brigade, loading into a lorry today en route to Ukraine. It's already stacked up with some supplies, traveling with it, so stay tuned, there will be more.